Okay. Hi, everybody. Why don't we go ahead and get started? I only have a brief 20 minutes today, but my name is Rick Tawaniak, and I'm the co-founder of Cisco DevNet, which is Cisco's developer program. So many of you may or may not ask, what the heck is Cisco, a hardware company, doing at a Salesforce conference? And DevNet, which is our developer program, is really at the heart of a transition for Cisco. And we're really transitioning from a hardware company to a software company. So actually, if you think of the network here, if you looked up in the sky, you'd see a bunch of white boxes every 40 feet. That's all Cisco networking gear. And yes, it is hardware, but all the intelligence in that box is now being removed to a software layer and is available via APIs to program. And that has to do with just about every piece of Cisco hardware that we have now is all programmable and has APIs. But I'm not here to talk to you about networking today. Instead, I'm here to talk to you about collaboration and unified communications. Many people may not know, but Cisco is the leading company in enterprise collaboration and communication. And for that reason, we've set up a partnership with Salesforce where we've taken one of our collaboration products called Cisco Spark and integrated it right into Salesforce. So why don't I start off by talking to you a little bit about what Spark is. So Spark, if you're familiar with Salesforce Chatter, would be an option to Salesforce Chatter, okay? Or many of you may be familiar with Slack, another example of a collaboration tool. This is the type of tool that Cisco Spark is, but it's geared for the enterprise and it's geared for secure communication within an enterprise. So what can you do with it? Persistent chat. You can set up teams in meeting spaces and do communication as well as do one-on-one communication. You can do one-on-one group video and voice calling. You can do screen sharing, whiteboarding, and file sharing. But even more importantly, what's really cool is, remember I said Cisco was the #1 unified communication company in the enterprise. So if you go to a predominance of enterprises, you will see a lot of Cisco phones, a lot of people using WebEx, a lot of people using Cisco telepresence and video systems. Cisco Spark integrates seamlessly into that. And so that's a little bit about what our collaboration tool. So it's much more powerful than a Salesforce Chatter, as an example, and that's why Salesforce has partnered with us. So what does that partnership look like? Cisco Spark can now be integrated, or now is integrated directly into the Salesforce software in the Lightning release. So you don't have to get it from the App Store, from the App Exchange. It is built right into your software, and then you can use it as an option, as an internal, as an internal option to Chatter. So what does that mean? Inside the Salesforce desktop, you can have high-quality voice and video calling, group messaging and advanced features, file sharing, read receipts, message deletion, visibility of user status, and other tools such as setting up a meeting, launching a call, setting up a WebEx meeting, etc. All that is built into Salesforce. So you don't need to go outside the Salesforce application to get access to this. You don't need to download anything. If you have the Lightning release, all of this stuff is built in. Okay, but what can you now do with this as a developer, right? So, okay, the application's built in, but what if I want to do some customization, and what if I want to do some development using Cisco Spark and Salesforce? Well, the first thing we have is a Spark Depot. So you can go into the Spark Depot and download free bots that have been developed by our community, or if you wanted to create a bot yourself, you can upload it to Spark Depot. And this is an example on the right-hand side of the screen of a chat ops bot that is built specifically for Cisco and Salesforce. And you can get, that's an example of one of the customizations you can do. And there are thousands of bots up there that you can take advantage of, that you can integrate into your application. But let's say as a developer, you not only want to do customization on your own instance, but you want to integrate with other applications. So we have partnerships with companies like Built.io, Zapier, and Stamplay that basically are companies that allow you to do mashups of various different applications, really using drag and drop techniques. So it's pretty easy developer sort of work because it's all drag and drop. But our application, as our many applications, are built right into these three very popular tools. And what that allows you to do is if you have Spark and Salesforce integrated, you can also extend that to other applications inside your enterprise. Okay, so that's the second way you as a developer could take advantage of this partnership. And then finally, if you want to get access to the code and you want to use direct API integrations, you can use our APIs, our SDKs, which I'm going to talk to you more about here in a minute. We have sample widgets, REST APIs that will allow you to integrate our software with Salesforce into your line of business applications. Okay, and I'm going to talk to you, that's what I'm going to spend the most of the remaining time talking about. All right, so Cisco Spark and Cisco collaboration tools are awesome. We're the #1 enterprise communication system out there, and that's great. But what if you wanted to integrate this collaboration application into your business app? And this is an example of a healthcare business app. Maybe you're doing a brain scan and you need to talk to the doctor. I'm not sure he looks much like a doctor, but you can do that right inside this sort of custom healthcare application as an example. So what are the ways that you can do that? Well, we have REST-based APIs, we have widgets, Spark widgets, and we have SDKs that can help you build your own UIs with web or mobile applications. And what this does is it provides a simple user experience. On the right-hand side, if you take a look, I'm sorry, on the left-hand side, if you take a look, this is an example of a bad user experience where you have your own application on an iPad or an iPhone, and then you want to go phone somebody or you want to create a video call, and you have to go launch a separate Cisco application. Maybe you have to go up to the App Store or the Google Play and download that app to make something work. Where on the left-hand side, this is an example of that same mobile app with your video and voice communication and collaboration application built right into that application. That's what our APIs allow you to do with whatever application you have. Those are the same APIs we use to integrate right into Salesforce. So this is another example of a use case. So where or how would you use this? So this is an actual application I'm showing you for a bank. Now I've taken the name of the bank off, but this is an example of, you've all seen this on your mobile phone, all the information from your bank. But let's say you're interested in getting a mortgage from that bank. And now you want to talk to somebody, but you don't want to go into the branch. You can launch, using Spark, a voice and video phone call from the consumer to the business, let's say Wells Fargo Bank, Bank of America, and you can start talking about a various loan product, and you can actually transact over the phone. So they can share documents over the application through their web application. And even, this is an example of, let's say you're closing that loan, you can grab a signature. Now you probably wouldn't do this with a home mortgage, it's probably a little bit more involved in that, but maybe a personal loan or credit card type of loan. This is an example of a transaction that you can do right there. And this is an actual real transaction that you can do. I obviously took the name of the actual bank off. All right, our software, if you're a developer, everything is open source, which is extremely important. So either start, stop, rapid prototype, before you purchase anything. You can check this against third-party security applications so you can see if your application that you're developing is secure. This is really important in enterprise sort of software. Anybody can contribute to our software and our SDKs. We have an MIT license, it's royalty fee, we pay for it. So everything in our SDKs is open source, and that's very important from a developer standpoint. Some of our SDK specifications. So we have an iOS SDK, a JavaScript SDK, and an Android SDK, which will be available shortly. So if the developer, all these are available to you right now, with the Android coming very, very soon. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the examples of what you can do with our REST APIs. This is an example showing here where you can automate and integrate into any application that you want, post, retrieve messages, you can create spaces and rooms, do user groups, memberships, manage teams, organizations, roles, collect data and usage metrics. You know, somebody came over to us in our booth the other day and said, hey, the Salesforce chatter, you know, I'm the security person in my company, and I can't get access to analytics, so I have no idea what people are chatting about, and I really want to know that because I'm from the security department of my company. And so, yes, that's something you can do with Spark. You can get access to that information via an API and custom do an application if you're a security person within an enterprise. That's just an example of what the APIs can do for you and why you should care about them and why you should care about the customization. Okay, so our apps are REST-based APIs. I'm sorry, our APIs are REST-based APIs that allow you to customize rooms, people, membership messages. It's very, very easy to use. So if you're very familiar with sort of web-based programming skills, REST APIs are some of the simplest types of APIs to use, and that's why we pick them to develop or integrate into your mobile app, your console app, or your web application. This is an example if you came up to the Cisco website, what you would see. It's a very interactive documentation and SDKs that tells you on the left-hand side sort of how to get started, where to get to with inside the documentation, what the documentation will do for you, as well as you can actually code. It's got a real-time system there, so actually code inside the SDK and get a response on the right-hand side. So very interactive documentation that's all available up on DevNet in our Spark for Developers website. Okay, other examples. So this is an example I talked to you about before. This is an interactive chatbot that's available. Somebody developed this using a REST API, and then they wanted to share it out with the community, so they just shared it right up on our Spark Depot, which you don't have to recode now. You can just download and use for yourself. We also have easy-to-use widgets, which require very little programming at all, and we'll talk to you about how much programming, but it's very simple, a few command lines. But you can take various functionality within Spark, like in this example, one-on-one conversations. You can load that widget into your app. Creating a Cisco Spark space is a widget that you can put into your app. And doing a video call is a widget that you can just actually incorporate right into your web app very, very easily. Super easy integration, responsive UI. New features are easily able to be uploaded into this. Open source libraries. It also includes WebRTC, audio, video calling, which is the standard in the industry now. A typical widget will only require this amount of coding to incorporate that widget into your application, which is really key. So very, very easy to use. We want to make it as easy as for developers to integrate Spark into their application. Okay, so what are some of the other important things regarding our widgets and our APIs? When you actually integrate Spark into your application, the really cool thing is now your application will be able to interact with Cisco's entire portfolio of products. So not only is it a cloud collaboration application that you're integrating to, but it's also integrating into the enterprise, into these various products you see behind me. So video units, phones, mobile applications. All of these types of applications you're able to integrate your application into to be able to take advantage of with the Spark APIs. And again, Cisco being the leading enterprise company, if you're an app developer, you want to make sure that your app is working with a leading communication provider. All right, so what does that kind of look like? So we have up on the top Cisco Spark services, the APIs that I just talked to you about, but they automatically, if you have your application is up here on my right, you can develop that application. It connects into Cisco Spark services, but it also connects into that infrastructure on the bottom, which is all our unified communication infrastructure, our contact center infrastructure. We're, again, one of the leading contact center operations out there. All our conferencing, so WebEx. You may not know that WebEx is a Cisco product, so it can tie all into that. And it does this through this experience, which we call Cisco Hybrid Cloud. Basically, we're connecting our cloud infrastructure into our on-premise infrastructure that is available in most enterprises, and that connection is done through the internet and the public switch telephone network. All right, let's talk about the resources that are available for Spark. All you have to do is come to Cisco DevNet, which is developer.cisco.com, and get everything that I talked about and more. Everything that we have up on DevNet is absolutely free. So obviously you get access to our portal, you get docs and sample code, community and support. Support is completely free. You get access to the sandbox, like the Spark sandbox, but any of our technology, we have sandbox labs, because frankly, Cisco equipment can be very expensive. So you may not want to build a development environment and have to buy all this Cisco equipment. Well, you don't have to do that. You can get access to this via virtual lab, and again, all completely free. The last thing I want to highlight are these learning tracks, which I think are very important. So we have probably one of the, for any developer programs, one of the most extensive sort of learning tools within a developer program. And the reason for that is our legacy as a networking company. So a lot of our community are networking folks, and they're trying to become software developers or understand software or start to understand APIs. So you can even, I mean, not only do you get learning on how to use Spark and how to use our APIs and things like that, but if you wanted like a coding 101 class or to learn basic coding, to be able to do some of this. Let's say you're not a real accomplished coder, you can come to Cisco's Learning Labs and take these classes online and take advantage of this. So this is a really good sort of free resource. We've had people that have come up to our booth, and that has resonated with a lot of people. There's a lot of people in the audience out here who are not full-time coders. Many of you are, because we're in the developer zone, but there's a lot of people that want to become developers. So if you want a free way to sort of learn how to code, or on the other side, if you're a software coder and you want a free way to learn more about the network and learn more about what you can do with networking APIs and networking basics, Cisco's DevNet program is the key place to come to. Okay, there's some of our websites that are available to get some of the stuff that I talked about. You can go ahead and take a picture of that. And then we do have a booth right over here, and we're in the IoT zone just off to my right. So please come by and visit us, ask us any questions. We haven't run out of them yet, but we have free chargers over there. So if your iPhones are getting low, come over, join our developer program for free, get an iPhone charger, and we'd be glad to talk to you. With that, I've got 30 seconds left. Take any questions, or you can come up to me afterwards and ask any questions. But thank you very much. Nice to talk to you.